the presentation sisters here in town. South Dakota has been struggling for a number of years to get food tax off the food. Now Senate Bill 159 seems to be an opportunity that could happen on in a phase level, I believe. I know there's some other things involved in the bill in relationship to taxes on the internet. But there are so many people here that are in need of less tax on their food. One year of taxes could pay for 3 weeks of food if there was no tax. And my question is there a chance that this bill could be a beginning for eliminating this tax on food? South Dakota needs it desperately. Thank you.
Sister, did you want that question directly?
The Senate.
The Senators?
Yeah.
Okay. Who will start?
Just make sure you get the right bill, but you're talking about the one that Senator Nessa, yep.
159.
Yep, got it. So Senate Bill 159, this was something that basically utilizes the trigger mechanism. So if, with the online sales tax, if there's going to be new revenues that come into play because of what's happening on Main Street Fairness, that those new revenues be used to reduce the amount of the food tax for everyone in our state. And so when we passed, going back to the education bill, Blue Ribbon Task Force bill, there was the Partridge Amendment kind of that was thrown in. He's a legislator from Rapid City, but his amendment was to say if Main Street Fairness passes where you get online sales tax to completely be collected, that then you would start to reduce the increase in the sales tax. Well, this is just taking that approach and focusing it solely on the food tax. And I agree with you, sister, it's a huge burden. I mean, where I live over in the eastern side of District 1, we're right next to Minnesota, 12 miles from Browns Valley, Minnesota, where they have no food tax. It's a huge issue. Thank you for bringing it up. Senate Bill 159, it's a crafty idea because it's saying if we get the online sales tax, let's use that to reduce the burden on our food tax, which obviously affects all of us. We all need to buy some level of food to survive, so thank you.
In answer to the question, and there are a lot of different moving parts, I think that there are a couple different laws that are currently on the books that are essentially competing interests, and Senator Frericks mentioned one of those, and that's the rollback. If internet sales tax comes to fruition, then there, according to state law currently, the tax increase that was applied a couple of years ago would be rolled back 10% per $20 million in new revenues. The idea behind tax policy is that if everybody pays a little, nobody has to pay a lot. Cast a large net and bring in some from all. The reality is everybody wants services, and we've talked already about a couple things that are vying for dollars. One other issue that hasn't been mentioned yet is a state veterans cemetery in the Sioux Falls area. A lot of legislators have committed ourselves to trying to find the resources this year, the $600,000 to devote to that project in order to help that become a reality. The $600,000 incidentally would be reimbursed by the federal government should this project come to fruition. But then there are the ongoing considerations. My point is, whether it be precision agriculture facility, state veterans home, more immediately because of the way that it affects people. Again, I go back to our community-based service providers, our state employees, education. Those areas will always have needs that we, frankly, will struggle mightily to meet and probably fail in doing so. You need look no further than the nursing homes that are shutting down and the adjustment training centers that are having to make very difficult decisions, possibly I don't want to sound any alarm bells here in Aberdeen, but the gentleman who's the executive director of Watertown has said that they're looking at closing group homes. And if that happens, some very vulnerable people will be put into a very, very difficult situation, whether they are placed with families or whether they are ushered back to the South Dakota Developmental Center in Redfield. Then there's the question as to whether they have the capacity to serve them. My point is simply this. When talking about all things budget, there are a lot of different things that need to be taken into account. I recognize that some people are food insecure. Yeah, food insecure is the term. But those people, or a lot of people, require services, and we have to pay for those somehow. Several years ago, we established a food tax refund program, and that was underutilized. So many more people qualified for it than what utilized it. And if we lead them to water and they won't drink, then I don't know that that spells to us that we need to shift state policy dramatically. I guess my point is simply that we established a program, wasn't utilized, and the question then is, what is the appropriate policy, again, given all of our funding concerns?
Senator Greenfield hit the nail on the head. Right now, there's what I'm going to call unmet needs. An unmet need is what we've got with the nursing homes where people are working for very little money and they're working hard, and the same is true of Aspire in Aberdeen and the adjustment training centers, community support providers, as we now call them statewide. And so if new money comes in, I would be more inclined to meet the unmet needs versus giving a tax cut. What good does it do us if we cut sales tax on food and then cut services to those same people? Doesn't seem to be very productive. So I guess I'll listen to the debate, but Brock went through a long list of things that are unmet needs. So it isn't like we're sitting on a bunch of money and we're just ready to pass it out to whoever comes along. We have long debates about how to spend each dollar, and I'm sure we'll continue to have those long debates. Thank you.
I know I wasn't asked to answer this question, but I do want to lay out a couple of the facts. And Brock did a good job of saying what's in current law. For every $20 million that the state of South Dakota is able to collect from online sales tax, this current sales tax would be reduced by 0.1%. And what this bill would do is it would say for every $10 million that we're able to collect in additional revenue, we would reduce the sales tax on food by 1%. And I would probably agree with what Senator Frerick said. I think it's a crafty proposal. This bill is something that I don't know that it'll make it out of the Senate, but should it, I do anticipate it would come to the House Taxation Committee. It's something that I would like to listen to the debate on, and I think I would certainly be open to supporting it should it make it to the House.